How's it going, YouTube? Today's topic, did I go to film school and do I recommend it for you? Well, I'm gonna spoil it right now. Yes, I went to film school. Do I recommend it? That's more complicated and that's gonna take some time. I'm gonna talk about the pros and the cons of going to film school and a little bit about my experience. I went to the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, UNCSA, rolls right off the tongue. It is an arts conservatory. It's a 4-year program that I went to, and I got a bachelor's in fine arts in filmmaking with a focus on producing. Now, some notable filmmakers have come out of my film school. David Gordon Green, Jeff Nichols, Chad Hartigan, Brett Haley, and a number of others. So there have been a lot of success stories. I'll tell you a little bit right now about UNCSA, at least at the time I was there. The focus that you get is not necessarily the focus you want. So personally, I wanted to be a director or a cinematographer. But the way that things shook out, there were a lot of people that wanted directing, a lot of people that wanted cinematography, and I just didn't draw the long straw. So the faculty decided that I should spend more time focusing on producing, which actually has come in handy to some degree because a lot of the stuff that otherwise I would have never forced myself to learn, I did end up learning when I was doing this producing focus. But here's the thing I didn't get in my film school experience. I didn't get a thesis film. I ended up producing somebody else's film, their vision, with their name as director, and somebody else's name as cinematographer, and another person's name as editor. And the last thing I wanted was a producing credit because I wasn't personally interested in being a professional producer after film school. Do I think the information I learned in film school is valuable? Absolutely. But I don't think all the information was equally valuable. The technical stuff that I learned, how to use a camera, what's an f-stop, things like that, I would have taught myself all the technical stuff even if I didn't go to film school, because I'm kind of a camera geek anyway. What about the classic films that we screened in theaters every week? Well, while it was great to watch them on celluloid on the big screen, we didn't always analyze the films we watched. A lot of the time it was just mandatory screenings with no subsequent discussion. So if you've got the time and a broadband internet connection and a subscription to something like Netflix, you can probably replicate that portion of the film education pretty well. So what was most valuable to me about film school? It probably should be the connections and the friends that I made, but to be honest, I haven't kept in touch with most of the people I went to school with, probably because I didn't go a very traditional route after I graduated and I just ended up being a nomad traveling the world. So I'm going to say the most valuable thing I learned was how to get my work reviewed by other people. In other words, how to take criticism. Because if you work in the arts, especially filmmaking, which is so collaborative, you're going to have other people telling you what they think of your film. You're going to have other people telling you to change your film, even if you don't want to change it. This kind of collaboration and creative review happens at every stage along the way, whether you're writing the screenplay and getting feedback from people, or whether you're casting people to be in it, or whether you're out there, on the shoot trying to make decisions about what shot to do, or especially in the editing phase, when everything's getting rearranged according to the whims of whomever is in control, usually the person with the money. So getting used to that process and getting used to having your ego stomped on over and over and over is probably the most valuable thing I got out of film school because it's so painful and it's so difficult to force myself into a situation like that voluntarily. Being locked into a curriculum where I'm surrounded with peers who are going through exactly the same pain is invaluable and hard to replicate under any other circumstances. Okay, so what knowledge do I still use from film school? In other words, what actual information have I retained that I use all the time? The stuff I use every day from film school is actually the storytelling basics. It's stuff like character development, conflict and resolution, act structure, heroes' journeys, the Joseph Campbell stuff. Those are the things that actually I use quite a bit, even though I don't really make films that have plots necessarily. It's just knowledge that applies to basically every creative field, and it comes in handy in strange ways that I may not expect or anticipate. So I guess maybe you can ask yourself this: is going to film school going to teach me something that otherwise I wouldn't force myself to learn, or I wouldn't know how to learn? Also, do I need film school to get the connections that I want to get started in the industry? So what if you say, I have no money, I can't go to film school, how do I get started in the industry? My advice there is to volunteer to help somebody else on their film, on their project. Start making your connections that way. Apprenticing in the real world will teach you way more than you'll learn working on student films because there's actual things at stake. You see how the market actually works. Try to hit up your favorite professional and offer your services for free. Who knows, you might get lucky, they might say yes. I've worked with a number of people who have volunteered to help me out with my personal projects because I can't afford to pay people on those projects, but it's still a really great experience and I've made a lot of lasting connections that way with other filmmakers. Okay, so here's another question. Does film school help you get jobs in the real world? To answer that, I'll just tell you about my experience when I first started trying to get hired after I graduated. I sent out over 100 resumes to companies that were hiring, and I got exactly 0 responses. Nobody ever responded to a resume I sent out. The thing that actually got me started in the industry was a music video that I made with my friends on a weekend. It was a comedy rap video, so a friend of mine showed that video to his brother, and his brother's a producer at MTV, and his brother hired me to work on some reality shows after that. That's how I got started. And then after I decided that I was done with reality TV and I wanted to get into something else, I wasn't able to get hired doing travel videos or anything like that until I made some videos on my own trips for no money and started developing my own style with that. So now what I get paid to do is commercials and branded content. That's the stuff that generates income for me, which means I make short films that are associated with a brand. And I'd say 90% of that work comes from people who have seen the videos that I posted on Vimeo. So if you're not familiar with Vimeo, it's a video sharing site like YouTube, only the focus is kind of more on the filmmaker, the person behind the camera, as opposed to YouTube, where the focus is kind of on the person in front of the camera. So if you're trying to get started as a filmmaker, Vimeo is a great place to post. And the thing that's gotten me more attention and more clients than anything is getting staff picks on Vimeo. Staff picks are a few videos a day that the staff picks to post on the front page. They pick them based on quality. There's not really a whole lot of other ways to get a staff pick. You just have to make a good video and hope the staff sees it and chooses it. And every time I've gotten a staff pick, I've gotten emails from people who wanted to hire me to do a similar style. So this is the important point I'm trying to make here about getting started in the film industry and making your mark. Make something that has your unique stamp on it. If you make passion projects that are good, then people are going to ask you for more of that. If you make projects that you're not so passionate about, just to try to please what you think the market demands or what you think people will hire you to do, then you will get hired if you're good at it, but you're going to get hired to do stuff that maybe isn't what you really want to be doing. Now, I can't say which way is going to ultimately make you more money. Maybe you'll make more money just by conforming to the market. I can only speak for myself, but I'm much happier having worked independently to develop my own style and then have people coming to me asking me for more of that. So I hope this has been helpful and encouraging because I believe there's no one way to get into this industry. All you got to do is be a part of something exceptional. All right, I'll see you next time.